right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Certified Forgotten. We are normally, nominally, a podcast that deals with films with 10 or fewer reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. But about every other week on Cadence, we like to bring you a conversation between myself and Matt Donato where we're talking about a new release, a new film that we're excited by, that we think maybe you would be excited by. Sometimes that takes us to the smallest of limited releases or home video releases, and sometimes we talk about the really, really big shit. The biggest movie opening this weekend, talking about Predator Badlands. And I'm excited to talk about this one with you, Donato, because you have been kind of on like the Badlands beat for a hot minute because you were doing some coverage of them out of the studio and when they were still in post production. And so I feel like it's a rare thing for you to actually be involved in like set visits for a movie. And this is something you've been tracking for a hot minute.
Yeah, Bloody Disgusting was very nice and let me do the edit bay visit for Badlands. And this was, it was pre South by Southwest. And if I'm remembering correctly, maybe around February about that, maybe, right after Sundance. And it's so fucking cool to see how little VFX were finished when they showed us the first 20 minutes. So basically, if you've seen the movie or,
Okay.
if you haven't, there is a nice 20 minutes before the credits hit or sorry, not the credits, the title card. And we saw everything up to that. And to see the finished product and where it, not even to say where it got to, because we knew where it was going to get to. It's got ILM involved, it's got Weta involved. We know the VFX were going to be good,
Mhm.
but to see it be so rough around the edges, still basically like hexagonal fucking tracking grayness, and there was nothing there. And then to watch that first intro and just be like, holy shit, the amount of work that goes into making this VFX come to life, wild. But even more wild, and we'll get into it, is man, the guy behind the mask, quote unquote. I know it's not a practical mask, it's not Stan Winston magic once again, but there's a lot of good going on with the VFX work and our Predator deck. So I think before we get into anything else, I'll save some. I'll save all my excitement for later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we've got a lot to talk about, especially because I know a little bit about the Predator franchise because I was a kid growing up on the comic books and the novels back before even there were, a half dozen of the sequels that exist now. But before we do that, let's give you a little flavor of what you're going to be seeing in the film. Now, I'm going to read the synopsis I've prepared, but I also want to note too, because I've had a few friends reach out to me and say, "What do I need to watch?" They fully expect that if it's a franchise movie in the year of our Lord 2025, that they have some homework to do. And so I had a couple of friends reach out to me and say, "Do I need to? I know there's like Wayland Yutani stuff. Do I need to watch any of the Alien Earth? Do I need to go back and see Prey? Do I need to watch Predator Killer of Killers?" To which I say, yes, you should definitely watch Prey and you should definitely watch Predator Killers of Killers because those movies fucking rip. There is no pre work for this. This is a fully standalone tale. It exists in universes that do cross over with a couple of other franchise. There is the trailers indicated there are Wayland Yutani synthetics in this, but it has very little to do with anything else. You can sit down on this one cold. You don't need to do any pre work, any homework, watch any other shows or movies. And I think there's an argument to be made, especially because how up and down the Predator franchise has been, that you might have more fun if you just kind of went into Predator Badlands without knowing a ton about the world or the Yachtja or anything else. So, that out of the way, quick synopsis for you. After the death of his brother, young warrior Dek decides to honor his memory in the way of the Yautja, find the most dangerous thing alive, and try to kill it before it kills you. But after crash landing on a dangerous moon, Dek finds himself just one of many factions attempting to cull the planet's creatures. His hunt will take him up against the combined forces of Wayland Yutani itself, but help for him comes in the form of Thea, a half broken android in search of her missing legs and her twin, quote unquote, sister. Will Dex survive? Can there be an entire Predator movie without someone saying, if it bleeds, we can kill it? Well, you'll have to check out Dan Trachtenberg's Predator Badlands for yourself to find out. Matthew, from the 20 minutes of footage you saw previously to seeing it for the first time in theaters I think this past week, what did you think of Predator Badlands?
I really, really liked it. I am fully on board with anything Trachtenberg has his hands involved in now in the Predator franchise because, Prey is his homage to Predator, the original. It's very cut and dry Hunter Stalker, just with his own twist and the Comanches. And then Killer of Killers is so much fun. I think that is
Mm-hmm.
the idea so many people talk about. What if the Predator went here, did that? Samurai, pirates, blah, blah, blah. Well, Trachtenberg had that same thought. He turned it into an anthology. Badlands, I was a little, again, after seeing the footage, I wasn't nervous about it because it was raw. I know that's where movies start. I was nervous because it was such a big swing. And it was the idea that, okay, well, the Predator's always been somewhat of a villain. Maybe not a full villain in most movies. Maybe they did start to bring in other elements, AVP. The Predator is not exactly an outright villain, maybe anti-hero we can call it. But in any case, to do what Dan Trachtenberg wanted us to, and to endear us to a Predator, and to create the language, create the lore, and create the culture outside of just what we know we know they're hunters, we know they're killers and all that
Yeah.
stuff. It was such a tall order, and yet this is such a warm film. It is a buddy comedy. It is one of the funnier movies I've seen this year. A very Guardians James Gunny feel to the humor itself and the fantastical nature of it. Trachtenberg talks about Frank Frazetta and all these other sci-fi influences. He talks about video games, Shadow of the
A
Colossus being a
lot.
huge
He talks about
right.
video games a lot.
Exactly. He loves video games. So it's like all these influences are kind of like they could have been butting up against each other and really like not really working well together. But I think what comes through in the end is that it's a Predator film that ticks all the boxes. It gives us what we need, the thrills, the hunt, it's all there. But by being the call to the wild kind of film that it is, and by giving us something completely different, like Trachtenberg has yet found another way to rejuvenate this franchise. Like I adore everything he's talking about here, the found family nature of it, the runt that like he has found such a underdog way to tell a Predator story. And so coming in, I had two issues that I thought might arise. Number one was going to be the largely CG Predator and the largely
Mm-hmm.
digital atmosphere when we've had such practical forward Predator films to this point, and also the Wayland Yutani of it all, because we've had Alien vs Predator, and I still don't think there's been enough good Predator movies, like really really fucking good ones, to make that
Yeah.
jump just yet. And here I am eating my words because the Wayland Yutani is just it's borrowed. It's borrowed synths. Like what did you how did Monagle, the alien guy, feel about Wayland Yutani and Predator?
Well, as I've talked about ad nauseum, and this is my like lecture you at a house party thing, is that the alien movies are not centered around the xenomorphs, they're centered around the synthetics. The synthetics are always the most interesting character. The Frankenstein story that is told again and again is the notion of man creates machine, machine is both beholden to man and disgusted by it. Like that's what make those movies tick for me. So I was delighted. What I was worried about, to the point of Wayland Yutani, was if this was, because he's talked a lot, and I think you even wrote about it a couple of times. Trachtenberg has gone on record and saying the best Alien versus Predator movie would be one where you didn't know you were sitting down to watch an Alien versus Predator movie. You're just watching a Predator movie, and then suddenly the aliens are there. I was like, Dan, don't fucking do it. Don't do it. You don't have the juice. You haven't earned it yet. It can't be a surprise thing. It's got to be its whole. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say that doesn't happen. I've been telling my friends that doesn't happen because I don't want them going in thinking it happens, because then you're like sort of waiting for something near the end of the movie when there's a lot of things to enjoy. So I love the fact that Wayland Yutani is there. I think that Elle Fanning's performance in this is immediately one of my favorite of the years. Like it's one of my favorite performances. There's two of them that she gives, and they're both delightful. But the main performance is absolutely fucking fantastic. It's funny. It's really tied into what was her show, The Great. It's really tied into the kind of character work that she did offside Nicholas Hoult in The Great, where she gets to be funny and dynamic and silly and a little naive and also like powerful and strong. She's a really good actress, and she's really fun to watch. And there's something about the projects she picks where she lets herself be silly, and she's a lot of fun when she's being silly. So I think, look, there's kind of two things here. This is effectively a two-hander, right? There is the actor underneath the mask. You've got Demetrius Schuster Kolomatang, who is playing the Yautja, Deck, the Predator, and is giving a shockingly emotive performance. Talking about the CG, I'll talk about the other point that you made, Nono. Like the emoting in this movie, the work that they do with the eyes, the digital animation they do to give Deck like trepidation and embarrassment and all of these other emotions that is all just eye work. It's really, really good. And so everything else aside, just this odd couple film, whether it is lone wolf and cub, or a buddy comedy, or the nice guys in space, or whatever else you want to call it, that dynamic works. And that dynamic doesn't work if either of those characters is human. So I think that the idea of having a predator and then having a synthetic, it's such a wonderful like throwback odd couple mashup type thing. The instincts to lead from that point, I think, is they've earned it. There's no part of me that's like, oh, they should have held back on the Wayland. No, this doesn't work unless it's a Wayland Utani story.
Yeah, and once again, it's not intrusive. It just exists in the same world. It's what you
Hmm.
said. The synths are just there. We're borrowing technology. It's not like they're forcing their way in. It's not a shoehorned. Oh, hey, guess look at the crossover we're doing. And I got a lot of Drax and Mantis was like kind of the way I was seeing it.
Yeah.
Except like Elle Fanning's Thea is a little more a little more cold and calculated in the way that she delivers her information because she is a Sith. Like she is a little different from Mantis in that way, but the glee that she gets, like what you said is correct. I loved watching Elle Fanning in this role, and half the movie she is just half of a synth because she's looking for her
Hmm.
legs, and the way Deck early on refers to her as his tool because he's too proud. It's this idea of dealing with like the masculinity, and the stuff that the predator culture is so based on, and he's too proud. Predators hunt alone. We're not these group family friendly kind of. We are standing for ourselves, and we hunt alone, and we do everything alone to prove ourselves. And the way that like he's like, but wait, but you're not human, you're not a person, you can be a tool. And just the way he keeps calling her the tool, I laugh so hard at it. And then you have Elle Fanning leaning into it, though. It's not something that
Hmm.
like she takes offense to. Thea is very much like, sure baby, I'll be your tool. I can do that. And it's the first time when they're traveling together, and there's a large gap, like, or a ledge, let's say, and she's like, "Oh, how are we gonna get up there?" And Deck just chucks her up there, and she
Yep.
lands, and like she just looks at the camera and is like, "I like that. That was fun." And it sold me immediately. I'm
Yep.
so just into that dynamic, and at the same time, I was a little fearful because I'm like, "Oh no, they're gonna play it for comedy. They're not gonna play it in the way other Predator films have." I mean, let's be honest, Predator franchise has been silly. I mean, the second one taking place in LA, a lot of the stuff that happens there is
That movie's
bonkers.
fucking ridiculous.
Right,
Yeah,
it's
that is
exactly.
the most ridiculous movie. Yes, correct.
And you have Shane Black involved in a Predator movie that has humor, obviously, but I don't think any of them, to say balance is strange because I think Badlands did lean into comedy more than I expected, and maybe even more than any of the films, but it still feels more appropriate, and it feels more conducive to the film that we're in, where like I really do. I did not like the Predator, Shane Black's, and I really struggled with it because it did feel like he was trying to shine through in parts, but then he tried to do the dark, brooding Predator take
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So I feel like Badlands just leaned into the fact that the Predators. Well, let's just say the whole franchise. Like the Predator franchise is a silly fucking sci-fi amalgamation of hunters killers, but also this entirely like overly machismo clan of aliens that are ridiculous. So
Hmm.
I like that he leaned into it full force and addressed it for what it was instead of trying to like perpetuate the same familiarity and just try to do another Predator. We've seen people try to do another Predator, and Predators has its moments. Like I think they all have their moments, but Badlands just races to the top with Prey. Honestly, I think they're the two best sequels.
Yeah, it's funny to I think I posted after I saw the film that I never like I grew up reading the comic books and the novels. Because and this probably rings true for a lot of folks, like my parents would let me read the comics and the novels based on an R-rated movie years before they would let me watch said R-rated movie. So there's a lot of stuff, definitely Alien and definitely Predator in particular because I like sci-fi, so I was super into those franchises as a kid. Like I was immersed in the expanded universe long before I sat down and actually experienced those movies firsthand. So some of the stuff that Trachtenberg is playing with, it's a very faithful adaptation to what the expanded like Yautja lore is. The fact that it's a clan species, it's a tribal species, that there is a hunt that they go on in order to be blooded, their rite of passage. And if they live, they live, and if they die, they die. And if they die, then the clan is a little stronger for it because the weak character or the weak members of the family were weeded out. And that makes for part of the reason why those there's so much crossover with the Alien universe is because that becomes kind of a playground for aliens to, or for predators for Yaksha to be the protagonists because they get to be the ones that are on a hunt. And in the just like the Alien versus Predator movies, they sort of seed planets with xenomorphs, and then they go try and kill them, and it's like the ultimate thing. And they do that on Earth, and then blah 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 blah. But Yautja only really appear in Predator movies as the antagonist. They're hunting humans, they're killing humans, and I gotta say that's kind of boring. Like it's a knock that I have even on Prey, which is a very very strong entry in the genre, but it's doing the same thing, which is basically like humans versus faceless monster, and then they kill faceless monster and blah blah blah. It's done. But I really like the fact that Trachtenberg flipped the script on this and turned the Yacht into the main character, created like leaned into the lore that exists on the page and on the hinted at on the screen and exists in the comic books, because I think that opens up this world. Like if your character only the difference between the Predator movies and the Alien movies is like aliens are a mindless, they're the nothing from the never ending story, right? Like they are always happening, always ever present. They're an unstoppable force. And when you kind of treat predators as basically the singular version of aliens, you're going to run out of steam eventually because there's just not that much there. So I have affinity. I like predators. The Nimrod Antal film with Adrian Brody. I have a soft spot in my heart for that. I'm the only person in the world, or one of the few people in the world, that actually thinks that Alien versus Predator Requiem is a fun movie because it's a better Predator movie than it is an Alien movie, and I'll stand by that, even though I can't see half the things happening in that movie. But I do think that Predator Badlands for me is sort of the star of the series because it allows you to explore a little bit of what the Yacht are like and what's going on there, and still tell a like violent and bloody and fun story in a way that is more interesting to me than gang wars in Los Angeles. God bless, that movie is ridiculous, but like Predator 2, very different energy, not one I'm going to recommend to a lot of people. I'm telling everybody I know to go see Predator Badlands. I think they're going to have a fun time.
Yeah, I really want to call back to Demetrius as well because what you said is 7,000% correct. That is him the entire movie. Like Deck is a
Hmm.
human actor. I do want to confirm that. And what we see is the mocap and CG that is on his face, but everything else is him still. He's all there, and it's even him in the face. And the technology they use is so like advanced where every every facial twitch, whatever expression he wants to make, that is him. He's doing that. So I don't want that to get lost to just say like, oh, this performance was built in a warehouse when it really wasn't. Like Demetrius
Yeah.
was the choice, not just because he is a successful stuntman and he can do the theatrical acrobatics and all the choreography. Like it is a demanding physical role, but he shines as the actual emotive actor as well, in control of
Hmm.
Deck's emotions and the way we haven't seen a predator, garner sympathy or things of that nature. We haven't seen a predator ponder and think in ways that this technology allows. So I want to give all the shout out to Demetrius because it was a gamble to cast someone like that. Let's say, just to cast a stuntman or some shit like that. But no, no, no. This was the right choice. This was tremendously the right choice. And from what I heard, like there was a full tryout. He had to go through like a Ninja Warrior esque trial
Nice.
just to win. Sorry, just to win the role, and he aced it. Like he came in, and they were just like, "Yeah, this is the one." So I do think that is important to call out. And man, I don't want to spoil one thing in the movie, so I'm not going to. But it's not just Thea and Deck working together, and what this movie does with the the world of Jenna, which is where the Calisk lives and is this entire
Hmm.
death planet, basically.
Sorry, the Calisk being the thing that Deck has come to this planet to hunt.
Right, apologies to say that. So the Calisk is the quote unquote big bad. That is the trophy Deck wants. And it resides in Jenna, one of the most dangerous planets ever. And the plants are trying to kill Deck. There is razor grass. There are other creatures. Everything's trying to kill Deck, except one thing. And my God, I will protect that thing for the rest of my life. I forever want said character. It's so funny yet again. And here I am, like belly laughing at a Predator movie and still being completely in it. It was never a betrayal to the franchise to me. I feel like Trachtenberg knew the story he wanted to tell, and he had such command over it. And while it gets goofy, while it gets silly, and all these things, I don't know. I don't know what I would say to somebody who doesn't enjoy that part of it. Like, I'm sure diehards are out there who are going to say, like, not my Predator. This isn't what I want out of it. And sure,
Sure.
that's fine. If it's not, I can't say anything against that. But I don't know. I had the time of my life laughing at the characters who come together and must defeat the evil at the end. It's good. It's good storytelling.
Yeah. I don't think I was as enamored with the critter as you were. Just because I do like it is not a knock that this is a PG-13 movie. It's a PG-13 movie because that's going to get the most butts in the seats, but it's also a PG-13 movie because it's aliens and androids. And so there's not a lot like it is stylized and cartoonish violence that happens. It's not human bodily violence, and so I think that gives us a lot of capacity there. Do I love the fact that this movie kind of has its own Grogu baked in? It works. It really
It's
works.
not a Grogu. Get
I'm
out of
just, I'm
here.
saying, I'm saying it has a cute little alien, and there
Yeah,
are going to be people
cute little murder alien.
there are going to be people that criticize the Disneyfication of that, and I don't think that that's accurate, but I can understand why some folks on a first watch might be a little grumpy about it, is what I'll say. That wasn't me. I was like, I know what I'm signed up for. This is a movie where maybe my favorite character in the film is Thea's legs. So like it's not
Again,
we're not
agreed.
this is the thing. It is entertaining. It is wildly fun. It is unapologetically PG-13 in like an 80s kind of way, right? Like an Amblin Entertainment kind of way. It goes over the top. It's fun. It's silly. These are good things. I think that this movie, I the complaint that we always have when we talk about franchises is sort of like it's epitomized by Star Wars, the Skywalker complaint, right? Where a franchise is so afraid to move beyond sort of its core tenets that it won't explore new worlds, it won't explore new themes, it won't introduce new ideas. And I love the fact that Trachtenberg took those swings, that he was able to, and I should give some credit too to Patrick Olson, who wrote the Eisen, who wrote the screenplay as well. Like, it's a good script. It's great world building. The opening 20 minutes is a fucking banger. That is a great first 20 minutes for the movie. And I do think that I think it is a film that even if I am not the most in love with the CGI critter, just because it's a little bit of a different level of realism than the other stuff that's going on there, which is totally fine. It's in space. I think this movie is a testament to the fact that it doesn't need like CGI doesn't need to look bad, right? Like in this era where we are rightfully talking about overworked VFX employees and studios kind of rushing to put stuff out, like there's real craft and care here. The hybrid effects for deck and what the performance and the mocap and the animation is able to accomplish is as real a character. Like, I was never a big Gollum guy in Lord of the Rings. Like, to me, deck is a better blend of performance and technology than Gollum in the Lord of the Ring movies. And you know my handles. You can yell at me if you want, friends. But I think that this shows that we shouldn't, and I know you and I are careful about it. We shouldn't just poo poo or hand wave CGI, because CGI, when it's done well, is an art form and earns its spot here. And this movie, because so much of it is exotic and alien, it blends seamlessly. I don't even think like Prey. I think different budgets and different levels. I think there's CGI in Prey that stands out negatively throughout. The bear and other elements in that are just like noticeably not of the world. But because everything here is ridiculous and alien and foreign, it all works. Like the CGI feels seamless and cohesive and like a unified piece of world building, and that's a celebration. I think that's cool as hell.
Yeah, and it works with the action too. I don't think the action ever becomes too cement mixery where it's just churning
Hmm.
around, or one of those, again, overly stylized CG action films where you can't really place what's going on. The tenets of Predator excitement are here because we still get the technology, we still get Deck using his homeworld weapons and using them against these ridiculous wildlife threats that he's now facing. But then he comes to terms with the fact that, like, well, maybe it's not just about killing everything. Maybe I can work together. Maybe I can find ways to, like, use Jenna uh, against itself in a certain way.
Hmm.
And when he starts cluing into that, and he becomes this like warrior donning more natural armor, and when he actually taps into like Jenna's resources to use them to his benefit, I think it's so much fun to ditch everything we know about the little shoulder blaster, or the razor blade kind of ninja star thing, and all the Predator weapons that we've come to know, and find this natural component that kind of fits either. Like the
Yep.
way that he turns things into the things he's familiar with. I love that little touch and
He
getting,
MacGyver's the shit out of that
he
planet. He
does.
truly does.
He really does, and it just looks so goddamn cool again to be that warrior who does it himself, does it without anything from the Predator homeworld, and to really like have that self affirming moment. Again, a Predator movie that generates empathy and all these things. What are we doing here? How is this happening? But again, the action to me still sits really
Yeah,
well. I think whether he's fighting giant monsters or synths, whatever it is, whoever the foe is, there is a bit of a laughability to it. Like you said, we're having fun with it. We're gonna basically fight a synth, rip its arm off, and then wave it around because haha, funny, funny. But the thrills are still there. And I go back to Elle Fanning. Like Thea has some awesome moments of
yes.
choreography when she is still detached. So legs are over here, top half's over here, and the way that they work together to defeat villains, oh man, you're thinking 10 steps ahead. This stuff
Yep.
is, it's not just cut and dry, boom, boom, pow, pow, we're done. There's a lot of good stuff just in the creativeness of how you can dispatch synths or monsters.
Agreed. And I will give it's a little thing, and we're so used to watching movies with what feels like glorified temp music. I will give full credit to Benjamin Wallfish, who was the composer for Alien Romulus as well. So he's staying in the 20th Century Fox family. But Benjamin Wallfish and Sarah, I believe it's pronounced Schachner, the two of them probably owe royalties to the Who, the Mongolian metal band that was featured in the trailers and also seems to have heavily inspired the music in this. I've seen the Who live. I don't see any music live, but I've seen the Who live. I saw them in Austin when they were playing it at basically one of the music venues there. That band fucking rules. It's throat singing, it's metal, it's the coolest thing in the world, and it's such a good pairing. That style of music is a frankly ridiculously inspired pairing for Predator Badlands. Like the music fucking makes this movie, and I am. It's one of those things where like sometimes there's just a composer or composers who find inspiration in a popular artist and they sort of build a little bit of a soundtrack around that. And my god, like when the music and the stuff that's happening on screen come together and you realize that they found the sound for a film, that's a great that movies that understand what their sound should be and what their music should kind of make you feel. And it's that ravenous Roger Ebert review thing where it's like it calls attention to itself, but it deserves to. I love that. I love that. Music in this is so fucking good. I will probably own this score at some point.
Well, and again, it's no fault that I own the Prey score, which was Sarah's work as well. So Sarah absolutely crushed the Prey score because you blend the sci-fi, but also the Comanche, the drums, the
Hmm.
war themes, and I think that bleeds over into Predator Badlands, where once again, you said before, it's a very tribal film, and you kind of hear hints of Prey in there, but then Wallfish and them collaborating on how to like really intensify the sci-fi fantastical nature of it, but still have that rhythmic, war cry kind of feel to it. They find a really good balance where
Yes.
yes, I would put this right next to Prey. And again, it's no fluke, I guess to say, like, Prey, we all talked about it. Prey, when that came out, we're like, holy shit, where's the vinyl? And it really announced like days later. It was like, oh yeah, no, that was always coming. And it's, of course, it's fucking banger.
Yeah. And I will say, I saw this as a double feature. I got to see Prey on the big screen finally when they were doing that at the AMC for one night only, or the Regal, sorry, for one night only. So that was cool. I am not as big a fan of Prey as others, not because there's anything wrong with it, just not doesn't quite land right in a couple of ways for me. Absolutely no knock on Amber Midthunder, who is fucking amazing in that film. But seeing that on the big screen, I was like, I was wrong in 2020 to think it was just okay. It may not be my favorite in the franchise, but it's a hell of a lot better than just okay. So that is it. That is Predator Badlands playing in theaters right now. You have no excuse not to go see it. If this kind of like franchise stuff of Alien and Predator movies aren't your cup of tea, maybe you give it a shot. Maybe you don't. I know people that might try this just because it looks fun in a way that the rest of the movies, they're not horror people, so they might give this a shot. If this is a franchise that you care about, or if you like kind of the broader world that they seem to be making in this universe where everybody gets to do whatever the fuck they want, They give Fede Alvarez a movie and be like, "Hey, do your thing." They give Dan Trachtenberg multiple movies and be like, "Tell whatever story you want to tell." Not a franchise guy, but my exception is this universe because everybody just gets to do something silly and it's fantastic. And I can't wait for more people to try this movie out. If this is not far and away the biggest performing movie of the month, I'm going to be really, really shocked. So we'll see.
Truly and honestly, one of the most entertaining films I've seen this year. I stand by that. It
Yep.
is just smiles ear to ear, whether that's comedy, whether that's the adventure, the epic scale, all of it. Like there is so much to gaze at between the Western themes. The influences are crazy in this movie, and you can see them all. So Trachtenberg, he knows where he's pulling from. He makes sure you know and love it, but also he loves the Predator franchise, and that comes through the most out of all because he has now found 3 ways to reinvigorate something that
Yep.
I don't think many other filmmakers have had the opportunity. Well, they've had the opportunity, but they didn't have the execution to do.
And I will end this by saying when he gets to make an Alien versus Predator movie, and he is absolutely at this point going to get to make an Alien. It's like unless this movie shockingly bombs at the box office, he's gonna get the credit to be able to go do that. I'm very curious to see how that turns out because I think that'll be wild as shit.
I kind of want Fade's Alien vs Predator because he does that horror stuff so well. But I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I listen. I'm with you.
I would rather do the horror stuff, but my thing is that on paper, a Paul W.S. Anderson is a better choice for an Alien versus Predator movie than a Ridley Scott, just because that's the vibe. So, if what we're saying here is that Dan Trachtenberg is a better version of Paul W.S. Anderson, then I can definitely live with that. Donato, you are out of busy season. Halloween is officially over. So things are slowing down at least a little bit for you, but you got plenty going on. How do folks stay connected with you online? And don't say TikTok because you're not updating TikTok enough to be like, oh, you can follow me on TikTok. You got to update more TikToks before I
I
let you
do.
say, follow me on TikTok.
No, I like that rule. That's a good rule. I just posted my Badlands reaction. What do you mean? But that was just screenshots from Blue Sky. So yeah,
It doesn't
I
count.
got
It
to get
doesn't count.
better. You're right. Fine. Okay. Under Monogle's rules, you can find me at Donatobomb, DONATOBOMB, and that will only be for now. Blue Sky, Letterboxd, and Instagram. But I'm also gonna try TikTok.
All right, fair enough. Hey, you can follow me at Blue Sky. It's Monogle, bluesky.social. That's kind of it. That's it. That's the only place I like to post, but I'm on there way too much. You can, of course, visit us at certifiedforgotten.com. We just had our best month in a long time, dating back to before we migrated. We are excited coming off the heels of October to be publishing more stuff. We've got a few writers that we've got lined up and we've tapped them on the shoulder and said, come write for us. And they've said, maybe, and I'll fucking take that. But keep an eye out. More interviews coming up on the horizon. We've got more podcast guests that we're excited to share. We're chasing down some talent because I think that would be kind of fun as well. And if you'd like to stay in the loop, go to certifiedforgotten.com/newsletter. Sign up for our free newsletter. It doesn't cost you anything. You get an email on Monday. You get our podcast episodes on Friday. And then you never need to think about it. You just got Donato. He's coming right to you. Donato's outside your house right now. He's knocking on your door. It's Donato with updates. So that's what you want.